Well, that was despair. In a long way, people are gonna say that this is Team Ruby's fault, but no, I sincerely do not think it is. The real fault lies in Cordovan and her complete idiocy. I said this in multiple reviews, and the fact that they always get to show pictures of people in Argus just further proved that this was going to happen indeed true. She bragging and creating this created a dread, and that dread has now sent into a world panic that undoubtedly means the end of Argus. Our heroes are not gonna sleep well, even if they do manage to survive this, because they are gonna blame themselves for this. But the episode also did end with finally one character death, at least what we can assume. As I am pissed off by a certain person who just says that Ruby is trash, I get so very angry. Ruby is not trash. That guy had poor taste, you know. But this is the Angry Anime Fan, here to bring you Volume 6, Episode 12, Seeing Red. As we first see in the times of Team RWBY, except Jang and Blake, of course, who fought off against Cordovan. Well, it seems like uh, once again they try to reason with Cordovan, but her racism and her superiority complex just keeps getting more in the disturbing. And even with Maria distracting Cordovan long enough for in order to take one shot at a missile, which will hopefully blow up in an impact in the arm, as Oscar points out. Oscar really shows some insight here. In the end, it's for naught. But Ruby, angry at Cordovan over everything that is happening, as well as pointing out the very valuable thing, they are on the same side. But Cordovan just refuses to listen. So she decides to end it in a badass way. Just as Cordovan is about to fire her energy beam at her, she flies into the cannon with her semblance and then launches herself out using her trademark, shoot flying method that freezes the cannon. The scene then switches to the fighting scenes of Adam and Blake and Yang. As Adam accuses Blake of saying that Blake is a liar, she promised him that she will always be by his side. But then again, as Yang points out, she promised to stand by the side of the person that Adam was pretending to be. You know, this is one thing I'm actually wondering though. Is this meant to confirm that Blake is bisexual, or and Yang is lesbian or is or bisexual? I mean, we have technically only seen one single heterosexual scene with her, and that was the very first episode, so I don't think that counts. It's just that is this meant to say that yes, Blake and Yang is a thing? Because quite frankly, I do not ship. I'd like to ship them. I prefer Sun and Blake. It's a much more suitable relationship. But that's not what this episode is about. It's about the fact that they fight against Adam, and Yang tries to fight Adam solo when it seems like Blake is temporarily knocked away. However, as Adam points out, Yang is not fast enough to catch up to him, but that is why she decides to use the thing she got learned from her father. Yang before was always someone who was a little bit headstrong, so she does it a little tactfully. As you know, her semblance allows her to absorb damage and then send it back. And then she absorbs enough damage she can grab the sword and then kicks Adam's stomach, as well as taking away the sword, the one weapon that is his weapon, because that's the way he can only channel his semblance. I have to say, Yang in this mode is actually very cool. Her golden hair and her red eyes is basically flammable almost. She almost looks like a complete Goldilocks of some sort. It's a very badass scene. But then, as Blake gets up to the scene after almost falling down a waterfall, both she and Jang and Adam charges to grab a piece of broken sword, which is from Blake's broken sword from the last episode. But Jang and Blake are fast enough and manage to skewer him. As Adam can only let out an "oh," he slowly walks to the waterfall and he falls down on it and down into the water. Finally, killing off one major villain. Adam has been a pain for a very long time. Not that he was a bad character, he was a complete monster. It's more the fact that heroes have died. It was about time we saw a villain die. Now, all that is left is Cinder, but again, I do not think that Cinder is gonna die this volume. In fact, how this episode ends is the real danger. Because as after Blake and uh, Yang embrace, and Blake promises to not betray her side, suddenly Cordovin's men contact her and reveals that they tried to contact her before. A dangerous Leviathan Grim is on this way. Not to mention the sky is full of Manticore Grim. Not to mention our heroes do not have an aura left. This is despair. This is basically this episode. As I said before, is this meant to say that Yang and Blake is a thing, or is it just meant to be tease? I mean, you don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm judging. I just don't like that kind of shipping. No, no, no. That's not the wrong word. I don't like that kind of shipping. Is when I mean that I meant to. There are so many different ships all over the place. Even some who shipped Oscar with Ruby. But if you ask me, I prefer John and Ruby. It's that what I mean. And then there was those who shipped Sun with Blake. I prefer it like that. And I mean, there's some even shipped Ruby with Wise. Huh. Wonders that is a thing. Well, I am not for shipping, so that doesn't matter to me. It's just that I always thought that Blake would end up with the Sun, not Yang, but that is not a confirmation right now. It's just a very big wonder when I see this. It doesn't help the fact that Adam says that why does she see in you? So yeah, is Blake and Yang more than friends, or is that just a very strong friendship? That's the one thing I'm not so very sure of. But that's not the thing that is most important right now. If it is like that, then it's like that. But the Grim, the ending, as I said before, it was foreshadowed that it was going to be Grim here, especially with Cordovin's idiocy. So the big morale question here is who is to blame really for this situation? Is it Team RWBY because they wanted to take that ship? Yes, they wanted to do that, but they also did have the relic of knowledge, which will eventually draw in Grim as anyway. Not to mention they needed to get to Atlas. And as Ruby is the one who mostly pointed it out to Cordovin, she said we shouldn't fight. We are on the same side. That's true. They have a bigger enemy to battle, the Grim and Salem. So Cordovin's racism didn't help in this matter. Granted, however, they dispelled her just when they needed her giant mech the most. So the question is now, is this farewell to Argus, as well as John's sister? Who can save them now? No, seriously, who can save them now? Atlas military from Atlas? Give me your thoughts if you have any.